Hello and welcome. Tonight, the House of Representatives refers a motion to allow other petroleum marketers lift premium motor spirit directly from Dangote refinery to a joint National Assembly ad hoc committee. The Kwara State High Court sentences 5 men charged with the Offa bank robbery incident to death by hanging. The presiding justice, Halima Salman, holds that the 5 defendants are found guilty of conspiracy, armed robbery, culpable homicide, and illegal possession of firearms. And INEC presents certificate of return to the winner of the Edo State governorship election, Monday Okwebolo of the APC, as President Bola Tinubu hosts the Edo State governor-elect, the chairman of the ruling APC, and some of the governors elected on the platform of the party at the presidential villa.
Now, on business news, renowned economist Bismarck Riwani predicts a year-end price surge as floods devastate food crops in some parts of the country.
On sports news tonight, the Nigerian Football Federation confirms coach Augustine Eguavoin will stay in charge of the Super Eagles for next month's AFCON qualifier against Libya.
From Abuja, the nation's capital, the Senate passes for third reading the Southwest Development Bill following a report submitted by the chairman of the Senate Committee on Special Duties, Senator Kaka Lawan.
And in international news from London, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has told Israel's military to keep fighting with full force and has not responded to last night's ceasefire call.
We begin from the National Assembly, where the House of Representatives has referred a motion to allow other petroleum marketers lift premium motor spirit directly from Dangote refinery to a joint National Assembly ad hoc committee. The motion was raised by Honorable Oboku Oforji, who argued that the coming on board of the Dangote refinery points Nigeria in the direction of self-sufficiency of PMS. Similarly, the House of Reps has passed a resolution to investigate allegations of bribery against the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. Our correspondent, Terry Kumi, reports.
It's the final plenary of the week in the House of Representatives. The back and forth in the petroleum industry regarding the Dangote refinery takes center stage as the House debates the decision of the NNPC to be the sole lifter of PMS from the refinery.
Mr. Speaker, the House resolved, or the federal government, to mandate the NNPCL and the Dangote refinery to allow the independent marketers to lift PMS from the Dangote refinery. Mandate the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited, NNPCL, to reveal the price it sells crude oil to the Dangote refinery, and also mandate the Dangote refinery to reveal the price it sells PMS to the NNPCL to ensure transparency.
We may recall that a couple of weeks ago we set up an ad hoc committee, which was inaugurated, I think, yesterday or 2 days ago, on this same subject matter.
I do not think at this level that the issue of NNPCL and Dangote refinery should be confined to the committee level. I want to suggest and amend the prayers in the motion that the GMD of NNPCL should be invited, summoned by this House.
The Speaker guides the debate to a conclusion.
We are supposed to inaugurate the joint House and Senate committee to investigate this issue holistically. But we decided after consultation that we should make the announcement today of the membership and fix a date next week for the inauguration of this committee. And one of the terms of the reference is to look into this same thing you are talking about. So I think it will be a duplication of efforts.
Another matter before the House is the allegation of bribery against the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, following a trend in social media voice conversation involving one Idris Okuneye, a cross-dresser sentenced earlier this year to 6 months in prison for mutilation of Naira notes.
The House also notes the publication alleges that the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, dropped money laundering charges against Idris Okuneye, also known as Bob Risky, upon collection of the sum of 15 million naira.
This House further notes that the publication alleges that the Idris Okuneye, upon conviction for abuse and defacing of the Naira by the court, did not serve his time at the Nigeria Correctional Service, but was lodged outside the confines of the service.
The motion is adopted, and an investigation is to follow immediately. The House then turns its attention to a motion calling for the commencement of academic activities at the University of Maritime Studies.
The House notes that the legislative framework which upgraded the Maritime Academy of Nigeria, Oron, to the University of Maritime Studies, Oron, was assented to by the former President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR, in 2023.
Part of the resolutions is to invite the Minister of Education and the Executive Secretary of the Tertiary Education Trust Fund to explain the delay in the commencement of academic activities at the Maritime School. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, says President Bola Tinubu is making progress with implementation of various transformative policies and reforms designed to position Nigeria as a global power among the Committee of Nations. Mr. Idris stated this in his address at the Interministerial Press Conference to unveil activities lined up to mark the 64th independence anniversary of Nigeria in Abuja. The minister also identified some landmark achievements and interventions of the present administration to include local government autonomy, ensuring macroeconomic stability, stabilizing the foreign exchange regime, amongst others. Our correspondent, Victoria Longjohn, reports.
It's a full room at the National Press Center for the Interministerial Press Briefing to unveil activities lined up to mark Nigeria's 64th independence anniversary and 25 years of unbroken democracy.
Thank you.
The Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Mr. George Akume, is leading the government officials at the briefing as the chairman of the Interministerial Committee. The Minister of Information and National Orientation kickstarts the briefing, stating that the anniversary is a time of reflection and renewed hope in the face of numerous and daunting challenges.
The journey has been tough, but surely there is light at the end of the tunnel. Our sacrifices will not be in vain. Amid these challenges, we should never underplay the emerging shoots of progress.
The chairman of the Interministerial Committee in his address reeled out some achievements of the administration before unveiling the program of activities.
On a long-term perspective, infrastructural development remains one of the pillars of the Tinubu administration. Since his assumption of office, the government has shown its resolve in completing ongoing projects and initiating new ones in key sectors. Transportation infrastructure, particularly roadway and airport projects, have been prioritized to enhance connectivity, facilitate trade, and improve the overall quality of life.
The event also afforded some ministers the opportunity to speak on some achievements recorded in their various ministries, in line with the renewed hope transformative agenda of the president.
Mr. President has implemented a major innovation in facilitating that domestic refiners can buy crude from NNPC in Naira. The savings there are obvious, and I think it is a matter of time when the various benefits of such a scheme will feed through.
A lot of intervention programs were introduced to ensure that we compensate for those shocks, while at the same time not squandering the opportunity to put our economy on a pedestal for growth.
Like in the years past, in the 60s, for instance, when a child finishes from secondary school, he would have acquired some trades, some skills. So this is what we've been able to achieve in the last 10 months, which will be ready for implementation, which is already ready for implementation from this October we are entering.
We are working on Makurdi to 9th Mile. We are working on Abuja to Kano. And so these roads are going to be tolled. But
we are not just tolling them, we are bringing confidence in the use of these routes. Let me announce that over 85% of these projects are completed, and we have directed the directors of the various zones to go ahead and start commissioning from October 1st.
The government states that the anniversary celebration will be low-key to reflect the trying times the nation is undergoing. However, the ministers are expected to provide their scorecards to Nigerians in the coming days. From Abuja, Victoria Longjohn for Channels Television News.
President Bola Tinubu has asked the Edo State Governor-elect, Mr. Monday Okpebholo, to hit the ground running upon inauguration to deliver the benefits of democracy to the people of Edo State. The president gave the charge when he received Mr. Okpebholo and his running mate, Mr. Dennis Idahosa, at the State House, Abuja, shortly after the Independent National Electoral Commission presented the certificates of return to the Edo State Governor-elect and his running mate. Our State House correspondent, Emperor Simon, reports.
Days after being declared winners of the Edo State governorship election by the Independent National Electoral Commission, the Edo State Governor-elect, Mr. Monday Okpebholo, and his running mate, Mr. Dennis Idahosa, are in INEC headquarters Abuja to receive their certificate of return, accompanied by some officials and members of the All Progressives Congress, both at the national and state levels. Mr. Okpebholo and Mr. Idahosa take turns to sign their certificates, which was overseen by officials of INEC. Away from the INEC headquarters, the train moves to the State House Abuja to meet with President Bola Tinubu. Present are Chairman of the Progressive Governors Forum and Governor of Imo State, Mr. Hope Uzodinma, alongside some governors of the APC, the Deputy Governor of Edo State, Mr. Philip Shaibu, among others. The President urges the Edo Governor-elect and his running mates to ensure they provide good leadership to the people.
I believe you are up to the task, and we will work with you. Thank you very, very much. You gave us joy, that's all, and pride.
After the meeting, Mr. Okpebholo and the senator representing Edo North speak to State House correspondents.
God has brought him to rescue Edo people, to restore integrity, to rebuild our schools, to employ teachers so that parents don't need to contribute money to pay teachers. All that Obaseki was doing with so-called World Bank money, and I think the World Bank will want to even investigate what he did with that money. When you have schools without teachers, you are doing Edo best. He left out with Edo worse.
Very soon, you will see a lot of development coming up in Edo. We are going to employ teachers. We are going to renovate our schools. We are going to... A lot will be happening over time. If I had lost, I would have dared it. And I would have, by now, congratulated the winner. So I'm expecting them to congratulate me.
Mr. Okpebholo is expected to take over the mantle of leadership in Edo State in November this year. From the presidential villa, Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
In part 2 after the break, President Bola Tinubu, represented by Vice President Kashim Shettima at the 79th session of the United Nations General Assembly, asked nations to adopt a new agenda that prioritizes adding value to our raw minerals to industrialize the continent and provide sustainable economic growth. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, broadcasting live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. The House of Representatives refers a motion to allow other petroleum marketers lift premium motor spirit directly from Dangote refinery to a joint National Assembly ad hoc committee. The Kwara State High Court sentences 5 men charged with the Offa bank robbery incident to death by hanging. Presiding Justice Halima Salman holds that the 5 defendants are found guilty of conspiracy, armed robbery, culpable homicide, and illegal possession of firearms. And INEC presents certificate of return to the winner of the Edo State governorship election, Monday Okwebolo of the APC, as President Bola Tinubu hosts the Edo State governor-elect, the chairman of the ruling APC, and some of the governors elected on the platform of the party at the presidential villa. The Action People's Party has revealed its readiness to contest and win all positions in the upcoming local government elections in Rivers State. The party says there is no antics by any politician that will stop the conduct of the poll. The party's executives, led by the national chairman, Uchenna Nadi, stated this during a campaign rally held in Obiakpo local government area for the Rivers East Senatorial District.
With just days to the upcoming October 5th local government election in Rivers State, the Action People's Party, APP, is officially launching its campaign in the East Senatorial District of the state.
Strong economy,
The event, held at the Captain Elechi Amadi Polytechnic in Rumola, Obiakpo, draws a large crowd of supporters from the 7 local government areas that make up the senatorial district.
This is the time we'll know who owns the grassroots. Do you know who owns the grassroots? The people own the grassroots. All of you here put together own the grassroots. Sonny does not own the grassroots. Sonny is only strong because you made Sonny to be strong. And when you leave Sonny, Sonny is empty.
The national chairman, Uchenna Nadi, reinforced his optimism, asserting that nothing would stand in the way of the October 5th election.
The election can never be stopped by any human being. I want to test their popularity. Let them come to Rivers State and stand for the election. I bet you they will be defeated. APP has come to stay. APP has come to stay in Rivers State.
The APP flags are officially presented to the 7 chairmanship candidates from Rivers East Senatorial District, including 4 caretaker committee members recently appointed by Governor Sim Fubara and a former president of Nupeng, Igwe Achese. The chairmanship candidates for Port Harcourt local government area and current CTC chairman assured the party and its supporters that he and his colleagues would not disappoint the APP after their victory.
God will give us victory on the 5th of October 2024. And after that day, when you people will repose your trust in us, we will do everything to defend the interests of Rivers State. We will defend the interests of Rivers State from the Buccaneers and the Pharisees. No one soul, no one chairman will betray APP Rivers State.
With this campaign, the Action People's Party has concluded its rallies across the 3 senatorial districts and appears well prepared to contest the October 5th local government elections, aiming for a landslide victory.
President Bola Tinubu has called on African nations to adopt a new agenda that prioritizes adding value to her raw minerals to industrialize the continent and provide sustainable economic growth. This was put forward by Vice President Kashim Shettima at the African Minerals Strategy Group meeting on the sidelines of the ongoing 79th session of the United Nations General Assembly in New York, United States. Our status correspondent Larry Lasisi has a report on this and other meetings taking place on the sidelines of the global event.
Vice President Kashim Shettima arriving for the African Mineral Strategy Group meeting taking place on the sidelines of the ongoing 79th session of the United Nations General Assembly in New York, United States. The Minister of Solid Minerals Development, who is the chairman of the group, laid out the group's vision to transform Africa's mining industry through local value addition and industrialization.
By moving from commercialization to industrialization, we expand the capital formation of the mineral sector, increase employment of the people, provide opportunities for skills acquisition, facilitate the production of finished goods for local consumption and exports, reduce our reliance on imported products, and ultimately raise the contribution of the solid mineral sector to our GDP.
The Vice President, delivering President Bola Tinubu's address at the event, points out the critical need for a new approach. He further emphasized Africa's determination to move beyond the historic exploitation of its resources.
It is evident that Africa is desirous of shaking off the toga of requests for aid and grants, a situation in which the raw materials are extracted from our countries, exported, refined, and sold to us as finished products at higher prices, merely consolidates the foundations of our military and pushes us further down the depths of underdevelopment. We seek to break free by localizing the whole mineral resource value chain, from extraction to processing, and then to sales within our countries. We have skilled men and women.
Other meetings held around the city where reports were presented and agreements reached.
We also have a position statement where young people have given their opinions on the challenges for why young people are not able to key into that, and also recommended solutions. So we shared that position at different forums, at different side events, and we've also taken the takeaways to be able to ensure that we are able to intimate young people in Nigeria. We are trying to make sure that the mistake with the SDGs don't reoccur. The SDGs, most young people are waking to it late.
This report, came up with some set of recommendation suggesting to the government to take more proactive action so that we are able to achieve Sustainable Development Goal 16. Because without taking those, recommendation, to improve in our institutions, to improve in our judicial system, to improve in the anti-corruption, it will be extremely difficult for us to make the necessary progress and even achieve the Sustainable Development Goal in Nigeria.
I think the biggest impact for Nigeria has been just our sheer presence here. Nigeria being a leader in Africa has shown leadership in our presence, our message, and our dialogue, and just our general communication with other countries, heads of states, foreign missions, and especially the business community.
These side events are a crucial part of the annual gathering here at the General Assembly, complementing the formal sessions and in their own way contributing to making the world a better place. From New York, Lanre Lasisi, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, Vice President Kashim Shettima has welcomed ExxonMobil's proposed $10 billion investment in Nigeria's deepwater oil operations, describing it as a clear testament to the administration's economic reforms and investment-friendly policies. And this is coming just as the international maritime giant DP World has announced plans to develop a multi-billion-dollar port project in Nigeria. According to the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Communications, Stanley Kwacha, the Vice President stated this during a high-level meeting with ExxonMobil executives and officials of DP World on the sidelines of the ongoing 79th session of the UN General Assembly in New York. In a related development, the Nigerian government secured a $600,000 relief fund and commitments from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation for relief efforts for victims of floods, as well as for health and agricultural sector reforms. The foundation pledged the $600,000 for flood relief in Borno State and other health sector initiatives, with an additional $5 million grant approved for the Lagos Business School and partners to develop the agricultural economics of industrial cassava. The donation was announced when Vice President Kashim Shettima held a meeting with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, led by its head of Global Development Program, Dr. Christopher Elias, on the sidelines of the 79th UN General Assembly in New York. So let's now head to the nation's capital, and Markwe Ogun-Yusuf is standing by to give us the very latest from our Abuja studios. Over to you, Markwe.
Hello, Ayo. Well, we're starting off in north-central Nigeria, where 5 suspects involved in the Offa robbery incident have been found guilty of illegal possession of firearms, armed robbery, and culpable homicide. In the ruling, Justice Halima Salman of the Kwara State High Court stated that the offences are punishable by death.
In 2018, Offa in Kwara State was thrown into mourning
after suspected armed robbers attacked 5 banks in the town. This attack claimed more than 30 lives, including 9 officers of the Nigeria Police Force. The suspects were arrested and charged to court, but several adjournments owing to COVID and non-availability of the judge stalled the judgment.
Why are you standing there?
Now the court is set to decide the fate of the 5 suspects who have pleaded not guilty to the charges. After 3.5 hours, Justice Salima Salman of the Kwara State High Court found them guilty of culpable homicide, armed robbery, and illegal possession of firearms. Justice Salima Salman pronounced death by hanging for charges of culpable homicide and armed robbery, and 3 years in prison for charges of illegal possession of firearms. Briefing journalists, the prosecuting counsel commenced the court for the judgment.
And we all know what we proved and the evidence, the witnesses that testify, the exhibit we tendered, and from the totality of the evidence before the court, it shows clearly that the prosecution proved his case beyond reasonable doubt, and the judge accordingly gave judgment. We know, not only the trial, the main person who originated the Aduku himself died, so in police custody. That's why it's not one of them that is convicted today. But evidence clearly showed that these people were involved in the robbery, and even by their own. So they were involved not only in the robbery but in the killing of people. So that's what we were able to establish.
However, the defense counsel says judgment will be appealed.
The judgment is not come by surprise to me. Of course, in line with the evidence that is in court and vis-a-vis the evidence of the prosecutions and what have you, and the evidence before the court, we envisage that definitely it's going to be like this. It's an automatic appeal. It's an automatic appeal, and definitely it's going to stay. So I think it's one of those things that Mr. Emery have started doing, comparing the record and what have you, so that at least we move to the upstairs.
The judgment is undoubtedly what the prosecution was hopeful for. Now they'll be watching keenly on the result of the appeal by the defense counsel.
Still ahead on the news at 10, renowned economist Bismarck Rwani predicts a year-end price surge as floods devastate food crops in some parts of the country. That's in business news. Please join us again. Welcome back to the news at 10. Former President Goodluck Jonathan says Nigeria did not lose $49.8 billion under his administration, as alleged by the 16th Emir of Kano, Mohammed Sanusi II. The former president made a clarification at the launch of a book titled Public Policy and Agent Interests, Perspectives from the Emerging World, co-authored by former Minister of Finance, Mr. Shamsuddin Usman. Former President Jonathan also refuted the claim that his administration sacked Mr. Sanusi as the then governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, explaining that he was only suspended. However, hours after former President Jonathan left the podium, the Emir of Kano, who was the royal father of the day at the event, mounted the same podium and insisted that the former president sacked him as CBN governor, contrary to the former president's claim that he was only suspended. The Emir told the gathering that he was constructively dismissed, but continues to respect Dr. Jonathan and does not hold a grudge against anyone. In other matters, in the upper legislative chamber, they've passed for third reading the Southwest Development Bill following a report submitted by the chairman of the Senate Committee on Special Duties, Senator Kaka Lawan. This is coming 2 months after President Bola Tinubu signed the Northwest and Southeast Development Bills into law. When established through presidential assent, the Commission will receive funds from the Federation account, donations from development partners for capital projects to address infrastructural deficit in the region. Our National Assembly correspondent Gloria Omezuke reports. Well, I do apologize that we're not able to take that report, but that will be all from Abuja. It's back now to you, Ayo.
Many thanks, Markware. Landmark Corporate Realtors Limited, a frontrunner in the Nigerian real estate industry, has unveiled its latest product, the Autobiography, which is a new set of high-rise buildings to be situated in Victoria Island, Lagos. The unveiling ceremony took place in Lagos and was attended by top real estate practitioners as the LCR management promised to continue delivering quality housing to its esteemed customers.
The management of Landmark Corporate Realtors Limited, LCR, industry players and regulators are here to witness the unveiling of the LCR's latest introduction into the market, the Autobiography. The company's newest entrant is several blocks of high-rise buildings. Managing Director of LCR intimates guests and the press on what is on offer from the new housing estate.
The Autobiography says will be boost a cutting-edge feature that will revolutionize the lifestyle. We have done our research and we are bringing together the best engineers to handle the architectural, the structural, and the finishing, and the construction of the masterpiece, which is the Autobiography.
The Autobiography project, designed by BCL Contracting Limited on behalf of Landmark Corporate Realtors, has embedded in its design private residences and high-rise meeting all building regulation standards.
This is a very reliable and reputable company. I'm pretty impressed with the quality of work being done and the quality of work to be put out there. So Lagos State Government is always happy to collaborate with different people, different reliable companies, and of course this is one of them.
That's Landmark Properties Limited. I mean, they're known for doing good things, changing the landscape of the states, particularly contributing their own quotas to housing development in Lagos State.
It is going to be a startup of more luxury living. We are trying to show real estate industry in Nigeria, real estate industry in Lagos, what it means to start and kickstart a luxury living for the people of Lagos State and Nigeria and the world as a whole.
The Autobiography, developed by LCR Limited, a renowned real estate development company with a vision to providing quality residential and commercial housing solutions, infuses comfort to its esteemed clientele, making available elevated living standards, one estate at a time.
Erisco Foods Limited, a food manufacturing company in Nigeria, has announced a philanthropic initiative to assist flood victims in Borno State. As part of its social responsibility efforts, the company will distribute 100 million naira worth of ready-to-eat jollof rice and other food products to alleviate the suffering of those affected by flood in Maiduguri, the Borno State capital, and neighboring communities. The President and Chief Executive Officer of Erisco Foods, Chief Eric Umofia, stated that the intervention aims to ensure that families have access to healthy food as they navigate the aftermath of the incident.
Humanitarian crisis had set in the aftermath of recent devastating floods in Borno State, necessitating donations of food and non-food items from individuals, organizations and governments. Erisco Foods is also stepping in to show its sympathy in like manner. The company says it is set to deliver over 11,000 packs of ready-to-eat jollof rice, over 3,300 cartons of tomato paste, and 225 cartons of seasoning cubes, all worth 100 million naira to support relief efforts in Borno State.
Even though there is raw food to give some people, but some of them don't have where to cook it right now because no house. Even when I have house, no material to cook, everything was into the flood. So that's why we now come with this one that will keep them living till things settle down. Already, we have sent one truck to Maiduguri. 2 of them, one have arrived, second one is on the way. As soon as they arrived, there, we are going to present it to the His Excellency. I'll give to the Excellency of Governor of Borno State. We are giving them plenty goods, worth totaling 100 million naira. We want to use the opportunity to send to tell me from the degree, Sheikh of Borno, His Excellency the Governor of Borno, and the good brother of Borno State that we are with them.
As a Risco Foods embarks on this philanthropic venture, it also plans to hit the market soon with its ready-to-eat jollof rice line to demonstrate that the ready-to-eat meal is safe for consumption and to answer questions about the product's shelf life, packaging to retain taste and color. The company's CEO consumed one of the packs before journalists.
So you may decide to take it home if you want to warm and just put it inside the warm water.
The system is not simple. It's difficult to get rice. This one will take 1 year. We can even make it to be 2 years if we so wish. But because of the cost of energy, because we preserve it through the energy, that's what they call retort, that can introduce heat that will keep all the germs that will affect it in the next 2 years.
Before now, Erisco ready-to-eat jollof rice was exclusively produced for military personnel, especially those in the line of duty. The company says it is also producing the number required for the charity mission in Borno, after which it will be launched into the market.
Let's find out what's happening in the world of business with Will Ibom. Will.
Thank you, Ayotunde. Now, with the United Nations estimation that recent floods in Nigeria have destroyed food for 8.5 million people, the Chief Executive Officer of Financial Derivatives Company is warning Nigerians to brace up for higher prices as the year ends. Mr. Iwani shared this view on Business Morning today.
We're counting on three things between now and Christmas. One, the import of commodities with the duty waiver program. Two, the harvest season. And three, the lower logistics costs. Now, with the floods, both in the northeast and to a large extent the south-south, it means that we will lose part of the harvest. Two, it will be more difficult to move products from one market to the other. And three, even if you import the commodities, you will not be able to get it into the hinterland and the marketplaces. So this is bad luck, right? At times you have to be smart and be lucky. So this is bad luck for Nigeria, and it means that the inflation trajectory that we're expecting that will begin to decline in November and December may not materialize as earlier anticipated.
Still speaking of rising prices, the National Bureau of Statistics, NBS, reports that the average price of domestic flight tickets in Nigeria rose to 123,700 naira, marking a spike in prices this year. According to the NBS Transport Fare Watch report, airfares saw a significant jump, reflecting the rising cost of air travel within the country. On a year-on-year basis, the average fare increased by 56.56%, up from 79,011 naira 38 kobo in August 2023. Now we'll check out the domestic stock market, which snaps its 3-day winning streak as the NGX records its first negative close for the week. John Mekwa tells us more.
Thank you so much, Will. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Stock Market Report. Well, the very first negative trade at the NGX today is a big fall. We see that 267 billion naira is shaved off the market cap. That's almost all that has been gained this week so far. So we're close to that 56.614 trillion naira after that has been shaved off, and even we're still retaining the 98,000, which recovered this week, but 0.47% in the red is the all share index, and this is because of MTN Nigeria. Today MTN Nigeria lost just about 8 naira 80 kobo off each of its share price to close at 191 naira. Out of nowhere, MTN comes and does this to the market. Now let's look at the counters. We know that yesterday Fugers were in the red. Guess what? They're still there. UBA today went down. So banking is down 0.4%. Consumer goods recovered from yesterday. 0.21% is what is out today. Dangote sugar, flour mill, PZ, Nigerian brewery, Unilever. I know you're missing, the other flour mill that made the news yesterday. Oil and gas, after that very big gain from yesterday, today it's in the red. It's down because of Owando and Japan Gold. Well, usual suspects, you would say. So at the close of trade today, for the very first time, we see the face of the bear.
And that's a wrap on business. It's back to you, Ayotunde.
Thank you so much, Will. The United States have continued to push for a ceasefire in Lebanon despite Israel's vow to fight Hezbollah with full force. Here's Simon Pusey with more on this and other international news and around the world in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has told Israel's military to keep fighting with full force and has not responded to last night's ceasefire call. Earlier, the Israeli military said it hit around 75 Hezbollah targets in southern Lebanon and the Bekaa region overnight. The Lebanese Health Ministry said at least 13 people were killed in the latest strikes, with more than 550 killed since Monday. The statement by Mr. Netanyahu, here seen leaving for the United Nations in New York, pours cold water on the US, UK and other allies' call for a 21-day ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah. World leaders have been continuing to call for their citizens to leave the affected areas.
People can get out, they should, through commercial airlines while it's available.
New York City Mayor Eric Adams is facing federal criminal charges. Mr. Adams was elected to lead the most populous US city nearly 3 years ago on a promise to rein in crime. But he and a string of top officials in his orbit have faced growing scrutiny as part of multiple federal corruption probes. The indictment remains sealed, but would make Adams the first mayor in city history to be charged while in office. Mr. Adams released a video statement where he vowed to fight the charges and remain in office, asking New York residents for both prayers and patience.
But I have been facing these lies for months since I began to speak out for all of you and their investigation started. Yet the city has continued to improve. Make no mistake, you elected me to lead this city, and lead it I will. I humbly ask for your prayers and your patience as we see this through. God bless you, and God bless the city of New York.
An 88-year-old man who is the world's longest-serving death row inmate has been acquitted by a Japanese court after it was found that evidence used against him was fabricated. Iwao Hakamada, who has been on death row for more than half a century, was found guilty in 1968 of killing his boss, the man's wife, and their 2 teenage children. He was recently granted a retrial amid suspicions that investigators may have planted evidence that led to his conviction for quadruple murder. Sudan's army has launched artillery and airstrikes in the capital in its biggest operation to regain ground there since early in its 17-month-long war with the Rapid Support Forces. The push by the army, which has lost control of most of the capital at the start of the conflict, came ahead of an address by its commander to the United Nations General Assembly. Witnesses reported heavy bombardments and clashes as army troops tried to cross bridges across the Nile connecting the 3 adjoining cities that make up the greater capital Khartoum, Omdurman and Bari. 3 men in Benin, including a former minister and the man in charge of President Patrice Talon's security, have been arrested on suspicion of plotting a coup. Ex-sports minister Oswald Homke was caught on Tuesday while handing over 6 bags of money to the head of the Republican Guard. Investigators said Colonel Jimon Dieudonne Tevodre was being bribed not to resist a coup d'etat planned for Friday. Also detained was a businessman, Olivier Boku, a friend of President Talon, who had recently indicated he had political ambitions. Pope Francis has arrived in Luxembourg for a visit to one of Europe's smallest countries ahead of a weekend trip to Belgium, where he will highlight the needs of migrants. The tour is a rare European visit for Francis, who prefers going to places never visited by a pope or where Catholics are a small minority. It comes less than 2 weeks after Francis returned from a demanding 12-day, 4-country tour across Southeast Asia and Oceania. And Tiananmen Square in China has been decorated with flower displays ahead of the upcoming National Day holiday. A festive 18-metre-high flower basket has been installed in Beijing's most famous square, a tradition that has taken place for 40 years. Other floral decorations, including over 20,000 flower boxes, have been installed across the city to celebrate the holiday that starts on October the 1st. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.
Many thanks, Simon. Well, the AFCON 2025 qualifiers is still much on, with Libya taking on Nigeria. Chris Lems is standing by to tell us what's the latest concerning the Super Eagles technical crew. Chris.
Thank you, Ayo. Of course, a lot happening. The Executive Committee of the Nigeria Football Federation has approved the recommendation of its Technical and Development Subcommittee for the Federation's Technical Director, Coach Augustine Eguavoin, to continue in his role as head coach of the Super Eagles and lead the team in its 2025 African Cup of Nations qualifying matches against Libya next month. The 58-year-old in temporary charge of the squad steered the 3-time African champions to a 3-0 defeat of Benin Republic and scoreless draw with Rwanda in March days 1 and 2 earlier this month. Other members of the technical crew include Fidelis Ilechukwu and Daniel Ogumodede. Meanwhile, with the departure of Coach Randy Waldrum, the Executive Committee has also approved the recommendation of the Technical and Development Subcommittee for Coach Justin Madugu to lead the remaining technical crew and take charge of the senior women national team, Super Falcons, pending the appointment of a substantive head coach. The Super Falcons' next big engagement is in the Women African Cup of Nations finals taking place in Morocco in the summer of next year. Red Bull have dropped Daniel Ricciardo and drafted a New Zealander, Liam Lawson, as the Australian's replacement to the end of the Formula One season. 22-year-old Lawson has been Red Bull reserved since 2022 and filled in for 35-year-old Ricciardo at 5 races last year when the 8-time Grand Prix winner was injured. Fast Sports, it's back to you, Ayo.
Thank you so much, Chris. And the main news again. The House of Representatives has referred a motion to allow other petroleum marketers lift premium motor spirit, or PMS, directly from the Dangote refinery to a joint National Assembly ad hoc committee. The Kwara State High Court has sentenced 5 men charged with the Offa bank robbery incident to death by hanging. The presiding Justice Halima Salman held that the 5 defendants are found guilty of conspiracy, armed robbery, culpable homicide, and illegal possession of firearms. And the electoral umpire, INEC, has presented certificate of return to the winner of the Edo State governorship election, Monday Okpebolo of the APC, as President Bola Tinubu hosted the Edo State governor-elect, the chairman of the ruling APC, and some of the governors elected on the platform of the party at the presidential villa. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Ayo Tunde Balogun. Do have a good night and please stay safe.